anniversary that we're celebrating every single quarter. If you go to the next slide, team, I'd like to give a special shout out to our very own Frank Bridges. For those of you that don't know, Frank Bridges has been celebrating 53 years with Stanley Black & Decker coming up here on Q4. Now, Frank began his career in 1971 as an assembly operator in our Tarboro facility at Black & Decker. So think about that. That was even before Black & Decker and Stanley had come together. And as a part of Frank's career journey, he transitioned into component planning shortly after he spent the next 53 years supporting our global supply chain. Frank's done everything from move to Mexico to help support component planning. And today, this day, Frank works out of our Towson office right here in Towson, Maryland, to help support our business. So team, one last time, let's recognize Frank. Contributed essentially his entire life to Stanley Black & Decker. I hear that Frank is 55 years old. And so Frank started with our company at a very early age. Rules, policies were different back then. But again, thank you so much, Frank, for kicking butt and helping us be who we are today. We couldn't be prouder, but more excited for you to continue and be a part of this team moving forward. So thank you, Frank. Moving on, team, we've also got a few other great celebrations as we think across the world. And I'd like to bring someone up on stage here really briefly, our very own Kinga Stu. Let's give it up for Kinga, team. Kinga's here with us today. Kinga's just joined the company. I think, how long have you been with the company?
5 weeks.
5 weeks. Okay, 5 weeks. Boy, it's gone by. What have you done? We'll talk about that later. But anyways, couldn't be more excited to introduce Kinga to the organization. She's been with us for about 5 weeks. And Kinga's responsibility is she's going to be running our global planning organization across T&O. Now, why is this important? What's changing? What's different? Well, team, as you think about how we've operated over the last 2 years, we've largely had multiple different planning organizations focused in supporting T&O. We've got organizations like our integrated business planning team that helps our annual monthly cycle every single month and how our organization comes together in order to plan and operate our business. We've got that group. We've also got a very, very complex and important system migration that is in progress right now. You may have heard that as IBP, SAP, the system. And so we've got a team there focusing on how we upgrade our system so that we can better plan our business and better integrate across T&O. And then lastly, team, we've got our global planning organization, which supports all of our factories, our regions, and procurement every single day. And so as we think into 25, 26 and beyond, we're going to be bringing those three organizations together under one global planning organization. It's the feedback we heard from all of you, and we could not be more excited. So welcome, Kinga. Welcome to the team. How has your first 5 weeks been?
It's been great. I've been traveling around Europe, North America, visiting sites, DCs, planning teams. I've met a lot of hospitality. It's an amazing company. I'm super energized and excited working with all of you, bringing some change and positive things to the planning organization. Super excited. Thanks
Awesome.
all.
Well, thank you, Kinga. Very cool, team. All right, but we've got more to celebrate, team, because for most of us here in the U.S., but around the world as well, and we'll talk about that in a second, today is a very important day. It is Veterans Day. So for all of our folks around the U.S., around Americas who have served in our military, continue to serve in our military or services for our country, we just want to say thank you and recognize all those folks. We've got a lot of folks around this organization, our factories and our supply chain across our business that are celebrating veterans today. And so thank you to all those folks out there. Thank you for supporting and for serving our country, and really appreciate everything you have done. And most importantly, thank you for working on this Veterans Day this year in 2024. We recognize all of you, and we appreciate everything you've done. So thank you. And if you go to the next slide, team, it's not just Veterans Day for the folks here in the U.S., but this is really a global day. So I'm going to hand it over to Sophie, who's on the line today, to talk a little bit about Armistice Day, or Remembrance Day, as they call it over there in Europe. So Sophie?
Thanks, Larry. So yes, Remembrance Day, Armistice Day, is celebrated on the 11th day of the 11th month. And it's pretty typical in Europe, not every country, but it's pretty typical to have a 1 minute silence at 11 a.m. And so obviously it's not 11 a.m. right now, but I would like to just ask you all to join me in a 1 minute silence as we remember all of those who, have fallen and given their lives for the freedoms that we have today, not only here in the US, but, all across the world. And so just join me in a 1 minute silence here. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard among the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, the poppies grow in Flanders field.
For joining us today and for sharing that. And again, team, for all the folks around the world that are celebrating not only Veterans Day, but also Armistice or Remembrance Day, thank you for everyone out there, and appreciate all of your efforts and support for the company. All right, team, transitioning. Team, as we sit here today, we just finished up Q3. We just finished up Q3 as a business, and there's a lot to celebrate. But you also see as we talk through the rest of our agenda today, there's also a lot going on and a lot to do as we think about how we're going to close this year and transition into 2025. But first, team, let's talk about where we are as a business. And so I'm going to call on a friend here real quick. We've got Jeremiah Hogan. Jeremiah is our CFO for Tools and Outdoor Global Supply Chain. So Jeremiah, over to you for a business update.
Hey, thanks, Larry. Yeah, we can flip forward to the next slide. And team, we'll just spend a few minutes on the financial updates and the KPI updates from Q3. If you look in the top left there, sales were $3.2 billion, which was in line with our expectations. You can see the organic growth was a negative 1.9%, but really this was driven by market pressures. We've continued to see some POS and demand pressure, specifically in our C&I and IR channels, but with some partial offset in retail. There were some timing at quarter end there in September around North American promo shipments, and they moved into October a bit. And we saw a really strong start to the top line in Q4 with October shipments exceeding our expectations. On the right, organically, you can see DeWalt. That brand continues to lead the way. This is our 6th quarter in a row with growth in that DeWalt brand, and that brand's at 3% growth year to date. So that's really exciting, and a lot of that's driven by some of our MPD launches, specifically in HTOS around DXL storage and some other very cool items that Pete, Jamie, and Alexa will talk about in a bit. And we've had some good PLR wins recently with Lowe's, one of our largest customers. If we think about margin, the middle number on the left there, AGM rate of 30.4%. This is the first time, team, in the last 10 quarters that we've exceeded 30% margin. This is a huge accomplishment, and it really lies on the back of this supply chain team. And we've continued to deliver on our productivity goals and the program transformation, and we're seeing it materialize in the P&L. And you can see that little comment there, 280 basis points better than last year. And that's on top of a significant increase in Q2 as well. So we're continuing to see the momentum there, and it's very positive progress. So overall, a solid quarter financially. We've demonstrated that continued margin and cash journey, and we're making a lot of progress towards our external commitments of achieving 35% AGM rate and getting back to growth. We can click to the next page. I'll talk a little bit just about specifically our supply chain results and our scorecard as it relates to this organization and function. We've had another good quarter in Q3. Really, if you go back to the middle of 2022, This organization's continued to put a lot of green up on the scorecard. But there are a few pressure points out there. But I'll start with some of the good. If you can see on the left, safety, service, innovation, those three key areas and metrics all continue to trend favorably. We've had multiple months in a row now where different regions have had 0 recordable incidents in safety. Team, thank you. Our focus on safety and in everything we do and every day, it's evident. And for me, it's personally evident because just like we did today, almost every staff meeting, every interaction, we begin with a safety moment and make sure that stays top of mind. And it's really showing up and is evident in our results. On innovation execution of 67%, that's our on-time launch from Milestone 5 commitments. That's up from 42% a year ago, 15-point increase. There are some really big launches happening here just in September and through Q4. We'll hear a bit more about that, and they're quite exciting when you start thinking about the PowerShift launch and some of the DeWalt gas mowers that are going into the marketplace. And service at 92%. We've nearly stayed above or at 92% the entire year globally. We've really continued to focus on our key customers and our key products across the globe. And I'm certain Rob Bingley will touch on this shortly in the region. We saw really great performance out of EMEA, upwards of 94, 95% in that region. Financially, down in the bottom, it's in the gray box. Our overall supply chain costs were 65%. This is 60 basis points unfavorable, but really this is due to a volume dynamic as we've purposely increased production and invested in inventory to further support service goals and as a buffer to potential tariff mitigation in the future of 2025. All that said, our productivity and the business is on track to exceed our program transformation commitments, and our AGM performance that we saw on the previous page is still in good shape. You can see the productivity pipeline of 3.6%. This is our lowest point of the year, albeit it's still green. It's been trending down slightly. So I do need each and every one of you that's listening today to go bring your ideas forward, right? Think about what you do every day. How can we build productivity and cost and cash efficiency into those activities every day and bring those forward to your management team and make sure we set up this pipeline for 2025 just as we've done in 2024, delivering our own goals. Two kind of comments on some areas of opportunity: demand forecast accuracy and cost of poor quality. We've certainly lagged on getting that planning forecast accuracy up above 62%. We're going to strive again for improvement in 25. It is a very complex and difficult topic. Larry did mention there's a new system implementation that King is going to help us lead around SAP IBP. We're hoping some of the new tools and investments in this space really start to deliver on this metric. And while cost of poor quality is red in total, we did have a very strong September, one of our best months in the year, and we've continued to see favorability inside of our internal controllable items like scrap and rework, and we've been green on that all year. So thank you for continued diligence around scrap. So all that said, another positive quarter for the supply chain and SBD overall, and that's really on top of a really solid first half for the supply chain. So we're in a great position to close out this year. Team, thank you for staying diligent, for putting safety first, putting our customers first and our people first every day. And I just challenge you to continue to be relentless on our quality and our execution of our day-to-day so that we close out Q4 and 2024 strong. So with that, I'll hand it over to the regional leaders. We're going to start with Americas and Steve in England, and they can cover their regional highlights and give you some further color on our business performance. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I think Jeremiah covered a pretty strong, scorecard here as we execute Q3, and my intention is to kind of deep dive some of those continued good results here in the Americas, right? So if I start firstly on the right-hand side of the page, right, when we think about our balanced scorecard, continually driving, good performance from an overall cost outcome is something that we've continued to trend as we've landed towards the back end of the year. $15 million favorable versus prior year and 18 versus our operating plan. I think, again, strong performance from our factories in the material planning space. And although that is a little bit pressured from an inbound freight, perspective, still seeing strong results here in Q3 and expect that to continue as we continue to drive production towards the back end of the year, into Q4 and beyond. You'll notice that, we talked a lot about service in the region and the need to continue to improve our service numbers. In North America, that's a high watermark from Q1, around 91.1. So we are starting to see our recovery. When we talked last, right, HTOS continued to be performing right around the 92% mark above our target. But our total results are pressured in power tools and outdoor. But despite that, we are seeing, strong recovery as we exit the promo season, as we rebuild our inventory and safety stocks towards the balance of the year. Expect us to kind of, finish strong and start strong in 2025 from a service perspective. And lag falling just 0.1% shy of our 93% goal, knowing that they are continually balancing a very volatile world from a market perspective, as each country and each market, behaves slightly differently. But we are continually seeing, strong results from a year-to-date perspective, right above our target. COPQ continues this trend very favorably in both of the regions, exceeding both of our goals and have been almost 10 consecutive months in a row. So continually, great shout out to Bob and the entire, quality team in terms of driving the metric in both regions. And then, a renewed and strong focus on innovation and execution. Pete, Jamie, and Alex are going to talk a little bit more about that in the future slides, but continually driving strong execution in North America with the launch of several programs that Jeremiah touched on. And we did fall shy with one launch in lag, but knowing that year to date, we're still very strong in kind of both markets. And then the real highlight on the bottom of the page is our inventory performance versus prior year, right? Almost about $500 million less in prior year from an inventory reduction perspective is a phenomenal achievement, right? And I think over the last 18 months, right, we've taken out almost $1.5 billion from a total inventory perspective, which is a phenomenal achievement across collaboration from the factories to planning and many other functions. You'll see that it's slightly red versus our operating plan, and I would say that's largely intentional now as we think about entering a very volatile kind of 25 and the need for us to improve our service levels into Q1, right? So we are strategically looking to invest more in inventory as we end Q4 different than we planned, so that we could better balance service performance as we think about a fast start in Q1 in next year. And then lastly, the big highlight that's on the left-hand side of the page is really a shout out around our business planning. And our Brazil business in Latin America continues to be leading the path, right, within Stanley Black & Decker and presenting a very high watermark in terms of forecast accuracy for our entire business. And in September alone, they achieved over 80% as a business in the market from a forecast accuracy perspective, right? Which is a huge result and a phenomenal achievement from Bruno and his entire team and supporting Fabio and the rest of the team in Brazil. And it's with those types of results, right, with strong collaboration, right, we can continue to build the right fundamentals for our business moving forward, right? So big shout out to the team in Brazil for achieving that very high watermark and knowing that we're going to continually challenge every other country and market across the world, right, to kind of chase on Brazil's coattails. So those are some of the highlights from a scorecard perspective. And then lastly, I'd just like to, knowing that this is probably the last time that we talk to this whole group right before the end of the year, I just want to say thank you. It's been a very long, 10, 11 months. We still have about 8 weeks to go to kind of close out the year. But we are continually improving, our results and our culture within the supply chain. So I just want to say thank you, and have a safe and happy holiday season, and appreciate everybody's contributions. With that, we'll turn it over to see some other good highlights from the EMEA and rest of the world region, and I'll turn it over to Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. I'm down here in Iberia at the moment. We just had a business review, and I think the biggest testament to some of the successes we've had in our region has been that supply chain isn't really mentioned in a business review, which is a huge step forward from where we have been in the past. I want to start over on the left there with the UFR. We've had numbers like this in the past, but we've not had them sustainably. And it really is a testament to the work that the entire team has done in making sure that we hit 94% across the board in every month in Q3. And some of the highlights there with power tools at 95% and hand tools at 94%. Our one laggard there that's kept us away from the magic 95 has been outdoor. Post the SAP go live, a lot of work's been done to understand how we're getting that forecast right, how we're getting the planning in place. And we've seen that come back through in the numbers. We've now passed the 90% mark and heading back towards the same level as hand tools and power tools. But I think the most important thing behind this is that what are we here for after all? We're here for our customers. And our customers are really starting to benefit from a solid fill rate. And that's a testament to a lot of teams that go, I guess, behind the scenes within Stanley Black & Decker. So if I think about our business care teams across EMEA and Z, these are the guys and ladies that are taking the orders every day. These are the people that are making sure that we get our deliveries on the system, that we make sure we follow up, and we make sure that we get our on time to be absolutely what the customer is looking for. And the feedback we're starting to get from our customers is everything that's positive. And that's where we want to be. So thank you to those teams for your hard work across Q3. It really is noticed by our business leaders and by our commercial leads across all of the regions. On the right-hand side there, you see what underpins this. So our attrition below 5.5% year to date. That's one of the most valuable signs that we can have that our teams are here, they want to be here, and they remain here. And the more that we can influence our people and the more that we can keep our people looking forwards in the business, the more that we can see the benefits come through in the execution. Below there, you can see the bottom number, TRIR. We had our second zero recordable month. We were high-fiving when we hit the first. It's been the first one for a couple of years. We had our second one in September. And September traditionally is possibly the worst month of the year. Everybody's back from vacation. A lot of people come back from vacation and leave their brains behind on the beach. But we were, with the focus that we have across Europe and Australia and New Zealand, we were able to really push the messaging across that people come back from vacation, they come back safely. And inside of that, we hit a record week of $110 million of billing in the last week of September, all executed safely and all executed with zero recordables across all of our distribution centers and plants. So thank you for taking notice. I know Jeremiah mentioned it earlier, but it really is the most important thing that we value above everything within the supply chain. We'll touch on innovation shortly, a lot more to come, but 72% is ahead of the game. It's ahead of where we expected to be. And the work that the team are putting in to try and make sure that we get our new products on time, in full, in the market is really starting to take hold. But then behind that, it's great bringing new products to market, but we need to make sure they're quality products. And you can see there our cost of poor quality at 0.41%, below the target, substantially below. And we're now starting to move our measures to make sure that we can understand what's on hold in our distribution centers and which products we can't ship to our customers because we have quality issues or we're awaiting rework opportunities. And then finally, our manufacturing sites through the tough quarter. August is very difficult in Europe for many reasons, mostly because the holidays can go very well or very badly, depending on the weather. But our OCOS numbers, again, we came in below OP for the quarter with a lot of work in making sure we manage our costs. So with that, with a little green smiley face around our UFR, I'll pass that over to Chin to talk about Asia and the supply chain there.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and highlights for Q3 from Asia. And Suzhou, it's a consecutive second time we win a Best Employee Award in Greater Suzhou area. And also, first time our HR team win the Best Suzhou HR team. So congratulations for the Asia team. And also total is about over 400 plus big company participate this annual award, and only 10 company was selected, and the Suzhou plant is one of them. So, and we turn over to highlights. Q3 actually has the highest COT volume this year. The COT exceeds 530 million. However, as the volume goes up, with Asia team to keep our cost flat. As a result, you can see here, OCOS, we generate 39 million favorable OCOS in Q3, which is 16 million better than our OP. And UFR, Asia UFR this year is consistently keep above 95%, and the Q3 was 96% on the UFR. On the safety side, again, and on Q3, we have consecutive 3 months, 0 recordable injuries. And our TRIR is 0.07, which is the best ever year to date. Last but not least, our working capital inventory. Our total inventory Asia is 327 million, which is 32 million better than our OP. And again, it's the lowest in the last couple of years. And the turnover rate right now is 28%. And so overall, Q3 is a great quarter for Asia. And we are continue focus on our cost, delivery, service, and safety for the Q4. And we will close entire 2024 strong. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Chin, and thank you to all the region leaders team. It's so exciting to see all the work that's happening across the regions. You know, when you think about the global supply chain, it's not just one entity in itself. There are so many different functions, groups, and organizations that are required in order for us to deliver against our commitments and drive improvement. And it really is a team sport. So I just wanted to thank everyone out there. And then lastly, team, wanted to just take a quick opportunity of all the great things we've heard so far. A special shout out to our Suzhou factory and our Asia team. I have to tell you, if you don't understand the context behind that comment, in Suzhou China team, as you saw on the screen, we've got over 400 multi-international companies that operate factories and businesses inside what they call an industrial park. It's essentially a big place of land, and you put all these companies in there and they operate multi-internationals. Of all those companies, team, Suzhou is one of the largest industrial parks around the world. So if you think about a place where multinationals like ourselves go to manufacture and operate businesses, we have been recognized as one of the top 10 best globally in that Suzhou park. And that is a fantastic recognition, not only to our culture, our leadership, but all the folks that we have operating over there. So fantastic job to our entire Suzhou team over in Asia, as well as all of our other regions and all the great things that we're delivering. Before I transition, team, I wanted to take a quick moment because we had a really good question come through, and albeit we usually wait till the end, I thought it was a good time to address it now. And I think the question was something, James, you can help me. If we're delivering all of these great results, then why is it that the stock price is getting hammered? I think that's the question. Okay. And I think it's a really good point in time to maybe take a pause and take 2 minutes to help everyone explain where we are, where we're going, and why it is you may have seen our stock price have the movement it did last week. So team, for most of you, as you know, we went through our earnings call about a week ago. We also, along with our earnings call, our board comes together to meet, and we talk about not only where our business is, but where our business is going. And so I want to take everyone back to the slides that Jeremiah presented, okay? First team, I want to recognize the results that this organization has delivered, not only for the first 3 quarters of this year, but over the past 2 years, has been exceptional. And the reason I say it's been exceptional is because we've had very, very challenging targets. This team has come together very quickly in order to organize, prioritize, and then put together a transformation program to deliver against those commitments. And we've done that essentially almost to 100% as we've cleared the first 2 years. That being said, team, as you all know, we are going through a transformation, and that transformation does not end at the end of this year. In fact, we've got a lot of work to do, team. If you look at our metrics, we'll use cost, we'll use cash or inventory, and we'll talk about service. The issue is not the incredible work or the incredible improvement that this organization has delivered and driven. The reality is, team, if you take a step back and you look at us in focus versus the rest of our competitors, even with all that great work we've done, we're still slightly below where our competition is. And I'll give you a couple examples. Number one, on cost. You'll hear this term called AGM quite a bit as we go through the next year, 2 years. AGM is essentially our margin without our investments, taxes, etc. The way external investors look at AGM is you need to be at about 35% AGM in order to, on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, have enough open margin to take money, take dollars, and reinvest that into our top line. As we sit here today, team, we're in the low 30s. Most of our competition is in the 35s. So even with the $1.5 billion transformational cost reduction program that we're running, even with all the fantastic lean and continuous improvement work we're doing, we're still slightly behind where we need to be relative to our competition. The second one is service, team. And service is one of my favorite topics. We talk about service a lot inside this organization, and we do that with good reason. If you think about pre-COVID, team, pre-COVID, we were running right around 92% service, which is where we are today. So essentially what we've done is we've spent the last 2 years, team, putting a ton of focus into service, reestablishing our ability to drive continuous improvement. And what we've done is we've gotten service to the high end of where we were pre-COVID. The challenge, team, is that our customer requirements over the last 3 to 5 years have changed. And so albeit we have gotten to our high watermark in terms of service where this company is normally operated, the reality is the world has moved on without us. And now customers are requiring 95+% service. And so fantastic work done by every single person in this entire company and organization. But the reality is, team, we still have a gap that we got to go figure out how to close over the next year, and we've got to do it quickly. Lastly, I'll talk about cash. Probably one of my favorites. You know, if you guys recall, in 2023, we took out almost $1 billion of inventory out of our networks, and this year we're going to deliver somewhere between $400 and $500 million incremental once again. The reason why that's important, team, is inventory as a dollar value sitting in our warehouses ties up cash for our company. Would you rather have cash sitting in a warehouse, or would you rather have cash working for you sitting in a bank account somewhere? Some of the reasons we like cash. Number one, it helps us pay down bad debt. All companies have debt. We've got debt. And having cash allows us to pay that down, especially important in a high interest rate environment like we are. Second of all, with cash, we're able to spend money. And right now, team, we're spending money to try and reinvigorate our top line and drive demand. So think about salespeople on the streets competing against our competitors every day. Think about new product development, where we need to pay for new tooling or new manufacturing capabilities. or simply pay for more engineering resources to get good product out into the marketplace. And so cash is absolutely vital. And albeit we've done a significant amount of work in this space, we have to continue to drive and move continuous improvement team, because cash, cost, and service are ultimately what's going to help this team and this organization deliver strong growth. The last thing I would say, team, before we jump back into our agenda, is that we have to recognize the transformation that our organization and our company is going through. And albeit many of you feel like we've been going through that journey for the last 2 years, it's important to recognize that most of our organization has just started this transformation agenda over the last 6 months to a year. So you think about our engineering organization, centralizing, coming together, building new standards and new ways to go to market. That's all brand new. And our engineering organization is still going through change as we think about that transformation. Think about our marketing organization, right? At one time, we had SBUs, and those SBUs were very category and technology focused. Today, team, we are a brand-led, market-backed organization. And what that means is we start with our brands, what those brands mean to our customers and consumers, and then we go execute through the regions. That's all new to us. And so we've got to give a little bit of grace, but we've also got to support our business, and we've got to lean in, because it's going to take a little bit of time to regrow that growth engine. In the meantime, we still have a lot of work to do to catch up to the rest of our competition. And so I would say, team, albeit fantastic job, and I'm so proud of what this organization's been able to deliver, we still have some work to do as we think about competing against our competitors. And I love that sentence, because we are a competitive organization. We know where we're going. We know what it's going to take to win. And now the question becomes, how quickly can we accelerate that in order to make that type of change? So anyways, thought I would just share that question and answer for that, everyone, real quickly. Transitioning back to the town hall, right, and our agenda here. We spent a little bit of time going through where we are from a global standpoint. We've spent time going through what that means from a regional perspective. Now I want to take you, team, around the globe. We've got so much fun, exciting stuff happening across all of our functions. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Georgina, who's going to check us in on the Manufacturing Championship. Georgina, are you on the line?
I am. Thanks, Larry. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, all. We can jump to the next slide. I'm very excited here to talk to you guys today about the Manufacturing Championship. So you've all heard about it in our past town halls. We heard talk about it again today. Can anyone believe that we're almost halfway through November? I certainly can't. I can't believe we're almost at the end of the year. We know the end of the year gets busy, especially around holiday season. So I'm here to remind everyone that we've come a long way through this year. Of course, the year's not over yet. We still have stuff to do, like everyone's been talking about, Larry, Jeremiah, everyone's been talking that we still do have a couple of months left in this year to be able to see what we can do for our full year. The Manufacturing Championship is a great way to keep that excitement going through the end of the year, even when times get a little sluggish, a little busy around the holidays, really try an excitement around this program. There is still time to improve over the next month and a half. So please make sure to use the toolkit on the GSE Comms Hub for any resources there are about the Manufacturing Championship program. There's posters that can be ordered for their sites. There's backgrounds that you can share about the program. Everyone to get excited about this program. It's our first year of doing this program, and then going into 2025, of course, we'll have the second year of it as well. So really exciting. Just want to try and keep that excitement up until the end of the year. We've shared a lot of communications over the last 8 months, and that's really coming to a close as we're coming to the end of the year. These rankings that I will show next are going to be the last ones that we show until our winners are announced. So there will be a blackout period for the next couple of months, so we can make sure that our final analysis for end year result is correct. The winners will be announced at the GSE event in February, with a broader communication shortly after the event is finished. So really exciting, everything that's happening. Just want to make sure everyone's clear. Of course, these are not the final results that you're seeing here on this page, but these will be the final ones that you're hearing about until we announce those winners at the GSC event in February. So Q3 rankings are here, as you can see. We also did make a workplace post last week on this as well. So it is for the entire company to see currently. So these are our Q3 rankings. As you can see, we have our top 4 category performances. End user obsession and innovation. Compass Vietnam is on top, and we actually have a tie currently in 3rd between St. Wendell and Monterey. So you can see there is some ties happening, which is pretty exciting that we're very neck and neck in some of these races. For customer focus, you can see Suzhou APSB on top. Operational and functional excellence, Suzhou PPG is currently in 1st. People and culture, Thailand is currently in 1st. You can see the green arrows next to some of these that you can kind of see where some have shifted up and some others have fallen off also off of the podium. So it's really interesting to see from our Q2 to Q3. You can then see in our regional, in the Americas, we have those 2 winners. So right now we have Puebla and Monterey. You have Asia, the 1 winner, currently Suzhou APSB, and then EMEA, currently BBW. Of course, it's current, it's Q3 rankings, still things can change. And then you can see on the right-hand side, currently our global top 3, Puebla, Suzhou APSB, and BBW. So really exciting to see some of the changes that we have from Q2 to Q3. And like I said, you never know what's going to happen in the next month and a half until we finally get our results and everything tied up in January for a February release. So really exciting to see. Even more exciting, we have some special guests here today to talk about the Manufacturing Championship. So we have the top 3 sites in the Americas with us today to share what they've been doing to be on top of their region. So currently, I'd like to welcome Mario first from the Puebla plant. So Mario, thank you here for being here today with us. Puebla is currently in the lead, but with Suzhou APSB only being 1.4 points behind. Can you believe that? 1.4, not much at all. What are you doing to currently stay in the lead of this program?
Hey, good morning, everyone. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here representing Puebla. Some of you may know that I just joined Puebla last September, but working together with my colleagues this couple of months, I'm absolutely convinced and witness that my team shows a unique engagement, ownership, and sense of belonging. To answer the question about Puebla is doing to keep this ranking, today, being part of this core team, I can tell you that we like our values, talking about innovation, collaboration, integrity, and accountability. We work together as a one team. People track KPIs on a daily basis in our team meetings and follow up the top drivers as a culture. More specific for culture, this is a clear engagement that Puebla has. Our attrition year to date is 0. On quality, we are focused on a specific project. For example, scrap reduction. We can probably share that our team recently has implemented a project where we reduce 50% of the scrap on hammer value stream. This is an impactful initiative. Talking about service level, the team is always thinking on our customer, they preventing mindset, always looking for the best strategy to improve planning process. Our service level, our schedule attainment is 98%. Our mix is in great progress and continues in an excellent trend. I can tell you our result for October is 95%, and we are still working on this KPI. For cost, we have a strategy to spending with a weekly track and a specific action to keep Puebla in a good position. And also, we have a healthy project deck in ProTrack. With all this mentioned, everything is aligned to get an excellent result on this last quarter to achieve and celebrate our first place.
Thank you so much, Mario. Really keep up the great work. Sounds like you're doing an amazing job at the Monterey plant. So thank you. Or sorry, at the Pueblo plant. I would like now to welcome Yvonne from the Monterey plant. Skipping forward a little bit in my wording. Yvonne, thank you for being here today. Monterey has seen great progress from Q2, moved up from 3rd to 2nd in the Americas region. So great news. But still 42 points behind Puebla. So interesting to hear everything that they have been saying, how they're keeping the lead. But what are you doing in the next 2 months to try and catch them?
Hi, good morning, team. Yes, we already have a strategy for each category for the championship to close the year. So for end user obsession and innovation, we will continue working with Kaizen and root cause analysis for the scrap problem. So every production area are focused on daily meters on tier 1 to tier 4 to generate action plans and maintain and improve what we are achieving. Another approach to the strategy is our customer focus to improve our mix. So we closed the month of October at 92%, which is really, really well. So, and we will continue working as a team with supply chain to keep producing what our customers require. Another thing that we are working is for people and culture. So the team are 100% focused on the roadmap. So we have a team working on this with a weekly follow-up of progress, working on improving our leadership audit, inspection program, updating our hazard and risk program, and so many other different activities to work on. So it has been a lot of work, but the team are very enthusiastic and engaged about what we are achieving. And trust me, all the people are very focused on the first place. We all want to achieve it, and we want both Americans and global. So it's exactly the same points that we want to win the Americans and for the global. So we are looking for the 42 points in order to reach both. So Mario and Pablo, be ready.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. It sounds like you got a great everything that's going on at the plant there. Sounds like you've got a great progress. And I wish you the best of luck to be able to try and get that first place.
Thank you.
So I now like to welcome Pablo from the Mission plant. So Pablo, thanks for being here today as well. Mission has seen significant footprint changes, but you're still currently sitting in 3rd for the Americas. So great job on that one. What is your key to success in this?
Well, first, good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. Well, we are motivated with our team in Mission to win this championship. While we are in a transformation process with many disruptions this year, well, we find our ways to keep delivering good results. For me and for the team, the 3 keys that drive Mission results are, the first one is to have a team focused, engaged, resilient, and motivated, right? To find a ways to improve and innovate our processes to make it better. The second one is, well, have clear goals, right? After was announced the transformation of Mission, we changed our strategy. We identify where we have our gaps, right? And we are working diligent on it to improve and keep monitoring the results, right? To find a better way every day. The third one was to bring more volume to Mission, right? Team was working hard, launching new product parts and multiple in-source projects to increase the machine utilization in the plant. That helps a lot. To win the competition, our plan first is to keep our team safe, right? Reaching close to the 100% in the SCR roadmap. In quality, we have a plans to keep reducing our COPQ this year. We already reduced 20% scrap versus the COT in our injection molding area. Also maintain a good planning to stay over 95% on a schedule attainment and continue driving more productivity projects to keep favorable on our net spend. For our team, we have prepared some activities to keep them engaged and finish strong the year. Again, thank you for this opportunity and congrats to Puebla and Monterrey team They are doing a great job also, but Mission is ready to go for the first place. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Pablo. It sounds like your work is paying off. So you never know what you can do in the next few months to be able to get up there. I'm really excited to see what you guys can do. So I just want to thank our 3 plant managers for being with us today. I know you're very busy, everything that you do for our site. So thank you for taking the time today to share your best practices about the Manufacturing Championship. So last thing I want to say before I pass it off, even if your site is not currently listed in one of these rankings, there is still time to improve over the next couple of months. So definitely don't give up. You never know what could happen, and keep pushing forward to see what we can do in the next month and a half of the year. So thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me the time to talk about championship program. And now I'll pass it off to Pete.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Georgina. And before we pass it off, team, I just want to take a moment. For all the folks across our global supply chain, the Manufacturing Championship is not just our factories. It also represents our supply communities, our demand communities, quality, safety, finance. That is what makes up the total scorecard. So regardless of where you are, check in on the factory that you most tightly operate with every single day. This is a team sport, and they are relying on all of us in order to make their way up to the top of the standings, but very close here as we close out the year. So thank you to all of our folks that are participating in our Manufacturing Championship. Next, team, I'd like to transition over to innovation, because product development, NPI, NPD, whatever you want to call it, is absolutely critical to this organization as we think about putting the best products out in the marketplace in order to continue growth. So with that said, I'm going to call up Jamie, Pete, and Alexa to the stage to tell us what's happening across the PALM team.
Thanks, Larry. Hi, everybody. First, I just want to do a quick shout out to Frank Bridgers, 53 years, amazing. I've worked with Frank my entire career, 24 years, and even +2 prior to joining Black & Decker, I had the opportunity to work with Frank. So congratulations, huge achievement. So we're going to talk about new product development. Next slide, please. I'm going to kick it off with a high-level overview of the new product performance for 2024, followed by Alexa, who's going to go deep dive one of our manufacturing process improvements that we made in 2024. And then to close us out will be Jamie, who's going to talk about our new phase gate process. So if you're not aware, we are implementing a new product development process in 2025. That's the first time in probably 30 years that this process is going to change. So huge focus, a lot of opportunity as you're going to see shortly. So we have our 2024 projection for new products is about $800 million in sales. That's flat to the OP, but say-do ratio. I think that's a good thing. We achieved what we intended to achieve. You can see the margin rates that are driving up. And if you remember, the first slide is about 5 or 6 points higher than the average for tools and outdoor. But the most important thing on this slide to me is the $400 million of incremental sales. NPD drives growth for Stanley Black & Decker. So if you think about that, the growth driver, the one thing that right now that is growing is NPD. So when our focus on this process is very critical. So I'm going to slide over to the right. On-time percentage versus milestone 5. What does that mean? So we track every single milestone gate, our on-time percentage versus that gate, right? So when we developed our MBO for 2024, the biggest opportunity was milestone 5. That is where we implement our ESLs, which are engineering sample builds and manufacturing sample builds. That's where we see the most volatility in the process. That's where our date goes from here to here, right? So our opportunity was, our historical baseline was about 40%. It's actually kind of around there. It was actually in the 30s at this gate. So it was a huge opportunity for us to make improvements. Pleased to say that we are crushing this. I think part of the reason we're crushing this is we made a lot of process improvements in 2023, which are kind of shifting over into 2024, which has enabled significant overdrive of this metric. But it's not really about the number. It's about the improvement of that number, right? If we're in the 30s and 40s on new products, right? We're pumping it up to the mid-60s, right? However, we're also leaving 35% on the table, right? That means 35% of our products are still late. Now, I'm not going to take away anything from the team. This is amazing work, huge improvements. But if we're talking about growth of Stanley Black & Decker, growth of T&O, it's going to come down to this, starting with a 9, maybe even a 1. Meaning our execution has to be flawless for new products. That drives incremental listings. It drives incremental space on the shelves in retail. It allows us to promote more as well. So everything to me revolves around our delivery performance on NPD. Please, so if you're in the supply chain, whether you know it or not, you are a part of new products. So we are open to any feedback and all feedback. Bring it our way, because this is about process improvement, and everybody touches NPD, everybody. So top projects for 2024, these are already launched projects. This is a list of about 8 projects, driving about $200 million in sales and about 85 million in incremental sales. So focus incremental, right? Incremental means growth that we didn't have before. And then from a new product road standpoint, we have some really cool products coming. PowerShift being probably the biggest launch we've done since FlexVolt, which was, I think, 2016. This is about 8 new tools, plus a new battery system and new charging system. This project is intended to take over a gas market, so gas concrete tools. There's no real cordless tools in this space, so it's a huge opportunity for DeWalt. I'm pleased to say this is launching as we speak. This week we are dropping orders, and this week we will start shipping products to customers. This drives about $65 million in top line sales. The key point in there is it's $65 million of incremental sales that we didn't have before. It's a new market for us. And then we have some cool stuff in the hand tools group, Grabo, which launched in September. That's driving about $20 million, also 100% incremental as projected. And then last but not least, two new walk-behind gas mowers, driving about $40 million in incremental growth. So kind of I'll stop there. I'm going to transition over to Alexa, but remember, please come to us. Even if your plant doesn't have new products, you can still be part of the process improvement. So bring them our way. Reach out to me, Jamie, or Alexa. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Alexa. She's going to walk through our manufacturing deliverable process. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate it. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Alexa Christ. I lead the Craftsman Stanley BU supply chain, as well as all things HTOS. So earlier this year, we actually kicked off a project specifically to look around at our milestone process, more specifically our manufacturing deliverables. What's working, what's not working, what opportunities are there. This project was led by Kevin Lighting and a small group from our product operations management team. They worked cross-functionally with our manufacturing partners to really understand and get a strong foundation for our current state. What improvement opportunities are there? About mid-year, we got hit with a curveball. Our BUs were transitioning to a brand BU business. And so with that, we learned that our milestone process, for which we develop all new products, was going to pivot into what's going to become the phase gate process. And Jamie will talk a little bit more on the next slide related to that. So we are focused on manufacturing. We had to pivot and expand our scope to be all supply chain, all parties within supply chain to drive new products. So that's manufacturing, that's our advanced manufacturing engineering, quality, sourcing, supply chain, you name it. So Kevin and the team did a really great job stakeholdering across all these parties to really drive to one standard approach for supply chain to develop new products. I like to say it's a much more streamlined process compared to the old process, and really improved upon. So big thank you to Kevin and the POM team and all of the stakeholders that were a part of that journey. Really, really excited to have that implemented next year. And then what I'd also like to say is a big thank you to all of you. So in advance, as we go to implement this next year, we expect to have your patience and continuous improvement mindset, similar to what Pete had mentioned. We want to know what's working, what's not working. While the process that was developed should be better than what it was previously, we want to continuously raise the bar. And so with that, big thank you to your patience as we roll this out next year and keeping that continuous improvement mindset as we move to this new phase gate process. So with that, I will hand it over to Jamie, who will discuss a little bit more about our phase gate process, as well as how supply chain fits into that and next steps. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexa. Good morning. I'm going to take a couple of minutes here and walk you through our phase gate process. And many of you may have heard of the phase gate process. Many of you may be saying, what is the phase gate process? What does this mean to me? So our phase gate process is really what our new product development process or our product development process is going to become. You may be familiar with the milestone process today. That is how we launch projects today. Our milestone process currently goes from milestone 0 to milestone 8 with an MSL step in between. So about 10 steps to launch a new product from concept to delivery within the milestone process. That will evolve to the phase gate process. The phase gate process will be 6 steps. From phase gate 0 up to phase gate 5, where we will start out with the discovery phase, where we really assess the opportunity. And one of the things that you'll see with this new phase gate process is a lot of these deliverables will now be more front loaded, so that we make sure that when we go into a product development cycle, that we are set up to be successful from the start. So you'll see things in phase gate 0. Such as, how are we going to go to market? What is the platform that we are going to build this off of to be successful? And some of the manufacturing deliverables as well that we're going to look at to make sure that we know what plant this is going into, to make sure that the plants are involved as early as possible. That will then lead into our define phase, which is really your scope and validation, which kind of starts to take into account what are you going after? What are your performance criteria? What are your financial checks? And from a manufacturing standpoint, you're really locking in that manufacturing location and starting to lay out your supply chain plan. From there, it leads into the design phase, which is really where you get into all the technical development. How is this designed? How is this going to work? How do I validate that? How do I start to say what money I'm going to spend? And we really start to load in our forecast and get our supply chain plan going. Then that leads into phase gate 2, which is really our validation phase. So we're going to start to do our safety and compliance. We're going to start to do our product qualification. And we're really going to look into our manufacturing confirmation, and our final customer forecasts are going to be loaded at that point in time. That will then lead into our deploy phase, which is where we do our pilot lot, where we start to do our builds and our validation, and we deploy this. We're going to say, how do we move this along and how do we start to sell this product? And ultimately, that leads into our final mature phase where we're selling this product. It's out in the marketplace. We're doing our post-launch audits and how did the product go. So what I would ask as we move forward is really to embrace this new process, engage in the new process. And as Pete and Alexa both mentioned, this is somewhat new to us. We are moving from the milestone process, which is very well known, to the phase gate process. So engage and embed yourself, ask questions, come to us if something is not working, or hopefully things are working, and let us know. So what you will start to see is as we finish up the year, you will start to see programs that will go from the milestone terminology into the phase gate terminology. So starting January 1, and we already have programs now that are in the phase gate process, but what you will start to see is you will no longer hear the milestone terminology. That will start to be sunsetted. And starting January 1, we will lead into our phase gate process and our phase gate terminology. So as I said, please look to get engaged. Please look to learn. Please look to ask us questions, and please provide feedback along the way. So thanks, everyone. And with that, I'll pass it off to Kadir and our GSM team.
Thanks, Jamie. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Afternoon and evening, depending where you are in the world. So you had some fantastic results from Rob, Chin, Steve, and obviously NPI from Pete as well. I like to think we're going to talk about one of the underpinnings of all of that, which is the stable sourcing strategy. So if you can go on. So again, reach out. It's a lot to take in if you're not familiar with this organization before. So global sourcing management. right, led by Steve Katzfei, our Chief Procurement Officer, and my peer leaders who manage critical categories that all of you deal with, touch with, feel every day. Joanne leads our logistics. John Pat's components, Gopal finished goods, and Chris Ayers, our indirects, and Sarah, who's on with me online to take you today, introduce GSM. These are center of excellence. So again, take away from this slide, team, again, really what this team is focusing on is making sure our sourcing strategy and our supply-based ecosystem complements the work that we do and the goals that we want to reach. Okay? Minimal disruption at a competitive cost, on time, on call. Okay? Sarah, why don't you take the audience through kind of our methodology?
Yeah. Hi. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As Kadir says, I'm the VP of the Centre of Excellence for GSM. I've been part of the organisation now for getting on to 16 years, so done various roles across the organisation. But if you look at the next slide as we go into it in terms of the methodology and where we are really as part of our procurement transformation, at the time when COVID sort of hit us, I was leading the risk management team. And we know how that impacted us considerably across our supply base as well as our manufacturing locations. And agility became key for us. So we've managed so many years, you know, focusing on cost reduction and trying to make sure that we delivered against the savings. But it actually becomes back to a balance, one of cost reduction, two of your agility, and then risk mitigation. It's about trying to get that perfect balance and really make sure that we have the right processes, systems, and technology in place that's going to help us to sort of drive that further, not just about the value and the benefits we need to receive and deliver now, but for the future. So a lot of what we've created with Infinity is to actually build a standard way of working for the future. So working alongside our supply chain colleagues, making sure that we're factoring the right things into the decisions that we make as we go through, and that we have that compliance. So you can see on the right-hand side, in terms of the highlights, it is about savings. We've done a fantastic job with the help of all of the teams across GSC over the last sort of 12 months to deliver the savings in 2024. But it's about how we also collaborate and engage with our suppliers, making sure that we're addressing that total spend across all of the different systems that we've got, leveraging wave sourcing and the Infinity model to help us get that coverage across that spend base. You know, making sure that we not only identify the savings, but we actually deliver them, that making sure that we knew that say-do ratio is actually bringing them results into the business. But also complexity. We've got a lot of complexity within our supply chain and really trying to look as to how we can simplify that down. And as I say, it's not just about procurement transformation for where we are today in 24, but it's making it sustainable as we go forward to the future. And we can't do that on our own. So even as we go through the Infinity process, similar to the phase gate approach that was just talked about in MPD, having involvement from your key stakeholders, having that defined process in place is actually going to help us now deliver it, not just for now, but for the future also. So Kadir, do you want to go through maybe the last slide?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarah. So again, team, performance and cost. Reach out to us, give us feedback. If there's a way to improve upon those, more than happy to welcome that suggestion. So again, the key takeaway from this slide, team, right, is factory centric. Okay, we really try and make sure about that balance between performance and cost. Okay, really, it's about enabling our factories. Right? The best, cheapest price doesn't help if it's not at the factory. This is an example of the GSM organization also reaching out, learning about strategies we may not be experts in. This one is a really cool example about our categories developing a paint strategy and really reached out down to the factory, understanding from our makers what works, how should it, and then taking that knowledge in to come up with a strategy for it. So again, we can't win alone, we can only win together. We will be reaching out to understand more how it's done today from a reality perspective. Reach out to us, think of this as a call to action, help us create the best strategy, and then execute it that protects our factory from disruption and keeps our products competitive. Thank you. Hand it over to Jason. Jason, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here to share some of the talent updates that we've got going on in the organization. Sophie, who you heard from a little bit earlier, is gonna hop in here as well. So if we're gonna go to the next slide. Sophie, you gonna touch on engagement?
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. Yep. So everyone should have heard the all employee survey is currently live. It will be open through Friday of this week. Our current participation rate is 63% as of this morning, which is around 31,000 employees have participated. So just as some quick reminders here, it's an opportunity for you to give feedback, to understand, for us to understand the strengths and opportunities of where we are as a business, as well as drive meaningful impacts and improvements to the employee experience. So the only way we know how we can make our workplace better is from hearing straight from the source, straight from you all. It should take no longer than 10 minutes, and it asks a variety of questions in the realm of engagement and satisfaction. And it's open to all SBD employees, so makers and salaried employees as well. There are several ways you can access the survey. So through Gallup, there's a direct link. If you have an email address, you should have received one, and we'll continue to receive reminders on that. You can also access via QR code, which will pop up on the screen in a couple of minutes here, and then also at the end. So please feel free to scan that QR code. It will ask you for a survey code. The survey code is your employee ID. So just as a reminder, even though you are inputting your employee ID, it remains entirely confidential and nobody at SBD can see your responses. And then as well, for our makers who are kind of in our facilities, there is a deep link on all of our kiosks, all of our SBD technology that they can access anytime. If we move to the next slide, so as I mentioned, we're at 64%, participation rate, so 31,000 people. We're breaking it down by country. So I believe we have China and Taiwan in kind of the race for 100%. So I appreciate all of the partnership from our folks over in Asia to get those participation rates. We'll continue to provide updates out to the business daily throughout this week, breaking down by job categorization and some other factors as well, just to help the business to push on those response rates. On the next slide, yep, so we'll just leave this up here for a couple of seconds and then for you all to scan the QR code if you've not had the opportunity to take the survey, and then Jason will walk us through some performance enablement updates for you all.
Great. Thanks, Sophie. Appreciate that. So we'll come back to this slide at the end of the presentation as well. But as we get towards the end of the year, we've had some evolutions in our performance enablement process. And certainly this comes from the place of we all have a desire to feel supported, empowered, and able to deliver our best work every day here at Stanley. So in response, we've really implemented the performance enablement process, which drives a shift from kind of managing into really enabling performance. That's essentially how we should feel coming out of this. So, but the keys that we want to just touch on in terms of this process, right? It's about increasing actionable feedback. So it's not just a once a year conversation, right? We really want to evolve this into an ongoing conversation throughout the year. Obviously, from a transparency perspective, we want to continue to improve transparency of our current performance evaluations and performance expectations. And lastly, we also want to engage in career development conversations where we're talking about career aspirations and what are the most impactful development opportunities to be able to help make those or bring those to life. In addition, we're also continuously being enhanced. So we have some enhancements this year. We're going to see some more again in 25, and we'll go on to the next slide. What you're going to see this year in terms of 2024 process enhancements. One is we're simplifying the rating system. So we've removed an overall rating, but what we are doing is we're actually measuring both what we do, so our objectives, and how we do them, which is our values. So as we come through the performance evaluation process, many of you will already have, or everyone has their self-assessments in their box already. But we're going to be measuring both the what and the how. So it's really critical as leaders and as individuals that we all get regrounded in our values and really understand what those values and behaviors are. Additionally, from a feedback perspective, we've added a new feature into the system as well, where managers can now solicit feedback from either matrix managers, from customers, from other leaders in the organization or coworkers to be able to ensure that we get a comprehensive view of performance. And that obviously can be reflected in your review as well. And then from a template perspective, we've removed some of the optional commentary boxes to try to streamline that. And then lastly, we're sending out weekly updates to the leaders to summarize kind of where we are in terms of overall progress. From a timeline, what you're going to notice with this timeline is that we're, as a T&O supply chain organization, very aggressive in terms of what we want to try to get done this year from an overall performance perspective. The enterprise timeline you will see is much longer than what we're doing, and we're doing this for two primary reasons. One, we want to get done at the end of the year so actually people can enjoy their holidays, right? We want to get all of those conversations done and dusted and wrapped up so that people can enjoy the holiday season. They can get a chance to kind of take a breather, rest and relax a little bit, because it's been a sprint, right? We all know that these last 2 years have been incredibly challenging. We heard 25 is going to be challenging as well. So get an opportunity to rest a bit over the holidays once these are all completed. And then secondly, it really allows for focus as we go into 2025 to really focus on the key big rocks that we as an organization want to move. And we don't have to worry about looking back into 24 coming out of the gate clean. So employee self-assessments, we're asking that those be completed by the end of this month. And as soon as those get completed, managers have access to start on them. So from a manager assessment perspective, we're asking that those ratings be finalized by December 10th. So again, very, very quick window. By the end of December, we are targeting that those ratings are completed and conversations have been had in terms of overall performance and development. Next slide. And then as we think about kind of the initial steps, we've got that included in there. And again, biggest outcome is that by the end of December, everything's wrapped up. We do have some leader training coming up this week, as well as all employee training coming up over the next 2 weeks in terms of that overall process. And then we do have kind of some open Ask Me Anything sessions in December. With that, we'll hand it back over to Larry.
All right, thanks, Jason. Appreciate it, team. And we've covered a lot of content today. Before we close, and we're going to do a fast close here, just a couple things to bring back in summary. The first one, team, is we've got year-end appraisals and performance reviews coming up. To me, this is not an administrative function that we have to do before we close the year. Every employee, from myself, to the folks in this room, to the folks on the call, to the folks that will be listening to this through Workplace, every employee in our organization is entitled to not only getting feedback, but providing feedback on where they are, what they need to improve on, and where their opportunities are. That is a critical part of developing talent. And that is something, team, that as a performance culture, we should be taken very seriously. So we've got about 30 days. Make sure that you do the process, you're taking your notes, and you're scheduling your conversation with your supervisor. The second thing I would just add, team, is, and we've got our all-employee Gallup survey, which is out right now. Team, we've got thousands and thousands of folks across the organization. This is our opportunity to be heard. This is your opportunity to be heard. The amount of time that the organization spends when we get these results, focusing on areas to improve not only our engagement, not only our culture and our organization, but ensuring that we are listening to your feedback and we are taking action is significant. So take a couple minutes, team, go in, find that survey inside your inbox, and go ahead and complete it. We will use that to drive continuous improvement across our organization as we look into next year. So thank you, Jason. We've got a lot going on, team, but nonetheless, all very important critical activities as we close the year. So with that being said, team, let's do a quick, fast close here. If you go to the next slide, a couple things as we think about our key areas to close this year. Number one, focus on delivering our financial commitments. We talked a lot about all the great work that this organization is doing around cost. It's getting us to about that plus 30% mark. We've got an aggressive sprint to get up to 35. I know this organization can lead the way, so let's continue to focus on our financial commitments for our company, our organization, and our shareholders. Number two, let's finish the year strong. Team, as we sit here today, we've got overall a scorecard of about 10 KPIs, and they touch all the things from people to safety to quality, our non-negotiables, service, cost, and cash. We have spent an enormous amount of time and energy delivering against those commitments up to this point in the year. Let's close strong and let's have a fantastic 2024 as we look into 25. And lastly, team, yes, performance is important, but building capability and driving continuous improvement inside of our organizations, that is how we systemically improve our supply chain to meet our customers' requirements and our needs. That is how we move to becoming a best-class supply chain organization. So even with all of the stuff going on, team, please make sure we continue to put emphasis and focus on those core capabilities that we are delivering and building. And then, of course, team, don't forget, number one, we've got development conversations coming up. We want to be the employer of choice. We want employees inside this organization to develop, to grow. We want all of you to be our future leaders and our current leaders. So please, team, take the time to make sure that those development conversations are here, they are present, and that you're engaged. Number two, safety, team. We have done a tremendous amount of work, but we've got 20,000 employees that come in every single day. They walk across factories, distribution centers, in our facilities. All of you, our people, that is the number one asset of this global supply chain. So please stay safe, especially as we go into the holiday period. And lastly, team, there's a lot happening inside of our organization from a transformational standpoint. And so make sure, team, make sure you are setting aside that time. You are committing that time to learn our business strategy, our T&O strategy, where we are going and what it means to us. We spent a lot of time over the last 2 years getting our house, as they say, in order, doing some of the foundational work, cleaning up some of our issues and putting points on the board. As we look over the next 2 years, it is going to be all about one team, one voice, one initiative, one agenda. And so what that means, team, is in order to go after all the hard work that's in front of us, it's going to take one business operating together. So take the opportunity to learn not only our strategy, but to continue to integrate and get to know that organization that's around us, that we are a part of, and that we are looking to win and succeed every single day. So thank you, team. Thank you to all of our guest speakers. We had an action-packed agenda today. We went over our global results. We talked about what's happening across our regions and all the exciting functional work that's happening across our globe. We've done a tremendous amount of work to get us to where we are today through Q3. We've got a little bit left in order to turn this into a really, really positive year. So let's make sure we execute strong. And of course, team, please make sure you have a fantastic holiday. We probably won't be coming back together until Q1 of next year to talk about our Q4 results. So thank you to everyone out there. It is all of you every single day that helps this company move forward. I appreciate all your support. Have a fantastic day, regardless of where you are. Thank you. James. All right. Hey, team, everyone that was able to join today, thank you. I know that was a long session. Appreciate